As time passes, things change, and usually change is good. Things improve, get fixed, get patched up, one might say. Just ask my dog, who somehow got his ear filled up with blood, had to go to surgery and spend half of our vacation in a cone with a sponge sewn to his ear. Poor guy. But this is not a video about my dog, this is a video about Baldur's Gate 3 and what I consider to be the most important changes to it after patch 5. Due to this vacation, it took some time before I got my hands on patch 5, so this video is a bit later than they have been for previous patches, but now I can actually talk about which changes I consider to be the most important. But before we get into the nitty and the gritty of the actual changes, Sven Vinke, Mr. Director himself, said that this patch is feature heavy and doesn't add that much in terms of content. However, he also said that patch 6 is going to be content heavy and that it's coming sooner than we may think. So if you don't want to play Act 1 again after every patch, maybe patch 6 is the one where you want to dive back in again. But if you're like me and you want to know what's going on in the game after every patch, here's what patch 5 has in store for us, and just a heads up, there is some really cool stuff in here, some things that I've been asking for since the beginning of early access. First of all, it seems as though Shadowheart has gotten a lot of attention in this patch. Larian have added a way to recruit her in the Nautiloid, which opens up for new dialogue options after the crash. There is additional reactivity from her when she approves of you. Oh my. And there are new scenes expanding on her mysterious artifact. And I mean, did you guys see the end of Panel from Hell 3? Wow. But don't just take the patch notes words for it. Our favorite data miner Choblot has of course spent every waking hour since the release of patch 5 digging through game files. He's listed the number of added voice lines for each companion, and let's just say Shadowheart has a lot. These next few changes are ones that I am really excited about, and they all have to do with resting, something that I've been very critical of, suggested changes to in a video I made a while ago, and now they've done it. Resting seems so much better now. So first of all, when you go to sleep, you're no longer teleported into the wilderness, regardless of where you are. I was really annoyed with how immersion breaking it was to be in, let's say, the Underdark, but when you need to rest, suddenly you're in the woods again. Now, the aesthetics of the camp will change to match the environment you're in, which was one of the things that I wanted. I mean, just look at this, it looks fantastic. They've even redone all of the in-camp cinematics so that they can trigger in all these different environments. Thank you, Larian, this is amazing. Now let's talk about food. We no longer consume food to instantly regain hit points. Food is now used as camp supplies. In order to get a full rest and recover all our health and spell slots, we must eat a sufficient amount of food, otherwise we just get a shallow rest. The higher level we get and the bigger our camp becomes, the more food is required to get a full rest. Not only does this make resting more interesting, it'll make opening a barrel with a roll of cheese and a salami feel a lot better. Food could become extremely valuable if you find yourself in a situation where you need to rest a lot to regain your health and your spell slots. Now let's move on to another really interesting feature, background goals. Personally, I'm a big fan of when role-playing games, aka RPGs, put some emphasis on the role-playing part of the role-playing game, and that is what this here background goal thing does. If you complete a background goal, you will be rewarded with an inspiration point, or if you've already acquired the maximum amount of inspiration points, you gain XP. According to Sven, there are already over 100 of these goals in the game, and more are of course coming. This is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. Inspiration points are very useful and something that every player wants to have. It's a very clever way to give us an incentive to act in ways that fits with the background we've chosen, because if we're lucky, we'll fulfill a background goal and be rewarded with that oh so sweet inspiration point. Next up is active rolls. Dice roll checks have been given an updated look that is really nice, and we now have the opportunity to manipulate the outcome of the dice rolls in our favor. When we need to do a roll in order to succeed with something, we have the opportunity to use spells or skills, even those of our companions, to aid us in the task at hand. Suddenly something that's seemingly impossible at first glance can be quite manageable with a little help from our friends. At first I thought that this might be a little bit too strong. I'm succeeding on every dice roll here. Then I got to combat and realized that, oh, I've burned through all my spell slots casting Guidance and Charm Person to succeed with these dice rolls. Oh well, I thought, I can just go rest a bunch of times and it'll be fine. Wait, if I go rest a bunch of times, I'll burn through all of my camp supplies. And I think that realization was my favorite moment of playing this patch so far. It was this moment where all of these different features just fit together in a way that just gave you a sense of this game becoming more and more complete as time goes on. When it comes to combat, these are the most notable changes. Jump and disengage have been split into two separate actions. If you jump away from an enemy, it no longer protects you from an attack of opportunity. For that, you'll need to use disengage. You can now attempt to disarm enemies. NPCs that have been disarmed will look for replacement weapons. If you don't want to kill an enemy, you can switch to a non-lethal attack to simply knock your enemy out. Enemies that are knocked out can be looted just like enemies that have been killed. Examples of other small changes are NPCs now only receive weapon actions like cleave and slash if they've equipped the corresponding weapon. When difficult terrain prevents an enemy from making a melee attack, it'll try a ranged attack. More general improvements to the AI, like having them understand aura effects like silence, Gale's necrotic aura and things like that. They reason better about effects that give bonuses, about overlapping crowd control. They're less likely to damage allies to wake them up from sleep. Things that, from what I've played so far, haven't really made fights more difficult, but they definitely feel more real. Like I said before, the game is simply coming together more and more. And finally, a change that I like and that definitely has the favorite wording in the patch notes is that they've removed multi-attack from Minotaurs and all humanoids under level 5. It was a bit much. Yes, it was. So there we are, those were the changes that I consider to be the most important in patch 5. A link to the patch notes with all of the changes can be found in the description box below. If you like this video, you can leave a like if you like. You can also subscribe to the channel to be notified when the next video drops. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Are you gonna do it? 100%. Oh! Damn, that's good.